At least, I mean, if it be as good in the eating as in the hearing. 'Tis a supper quite fit for Tom Faggus himself, the man who hath stolen my victuals so, and that hung deer's meat. Now, is it of the red deer running wild in these parts?' 'To be sure it is, sir,' I answered. 'Where should we get any other?' 'Right, right. You are right, my son. I have heard that the flavour is marvellous. Some of them came and scared me so in the fog of the morning, that I hungered for them ever since. Ha, ha, I saw their haunches. But the young lady will not forget. Art sure she will not forget it?' 'You may trust her to forget nothing, sir, that may tempt a guest to his comfort.' 'In faith then I will leave my horse in your hands, and be off for it. Half the pleasure of the mouth is in the nose beforehand. But stay, almost I forgot my business in the hurry which thy tongue hath spread through my lately despairing belly. Hungry I am, and sore of body from my heels right upwards, and sorest in front of my doublet. Yet may I not rest nor bite barley bread until I have seen and touched John Ridd. God grant that he be not far away. I must eat my saddle if it be so.' 'Have no fear, good sir,' I answered. 'You have seen and touched John Ridd. I am he, and not one likely to go beneath a bushel.' 'It would take a large bushel to hold thee, John Ridd. In the name of the King, his Majesty, Charles the Second, these presents.' He touched me with the white thing which I had first seen him waving, and which I now beheld to be sheepskin, such as they call parchment. It was tied across with cord, and fastened down in every corner with unsightly dabs of wax. By order of the messenger, for I was over frightened now to think of doing anything, I broke enough of the seals to keep an Easter ghost from rising, and there I saw my name in large. God grant such another shock may never befall me in my old age. 'Read, my son, read, thou great fool, if indeed thou canst read,' said the officer to encourage me. 'There is nothing to kill thee, boy, and my supper will be spoiling. Stare not at me so, thou fool, thou'rt big enough to eat me. Read, read, read.' 'If you please, sir, what is your name?' I asked, though why I asked him I know not, except from fear of witchcraft. 'Jeremy Stickles is my name, lad. Nothing more than a poor apparitor of the worshipful court of King's Bench. And at this moment a starving one, and no supper for me, unless you wilt read.' Being compelled in this way, I read pretty nigh as follows, not that I give the whole of it, but only the gist and the emphasis. 'To our good subject John Ridd, etc.' describing me ever so much better than I knew myself. 'By these presents, greeting. These are to require thee, in the name of our Lord the King, to appear in person before the right worshipful, the justices of his Majesty's bench at Westminster, laying aside all thine own business, and there to deliver such evidence as is within thy cognizance, touching certain matters, whereby the peace of our said Lord the King, and the well-being of his realm is, are, or otherwise may be, impeached, impugned, imperilled, or otherwise detrimented, as witness these presents.' And then there were 4 seals, and then a signature I could not make out, only that it began with a J, and ended with some other writing, done almost in a circle. Underneath was added, in a different handwriting, 'Charges will be borne. The matter is full urgent.' The messenger watched me, while I read so much as I could read of it, and he seemed well pleased with my surprise, because he had expected it. Then, not knowing what else to do, I looked again at the cover, and on the top of it I saw, 'Ride, ride, ride on his gracious Majesty's business. Spur and spare not.' It may be supposed by all who know me, that I was taken hereupon with such a giddiness in my head, and noisiness in my ears, that I was forced to hold by the crook driven in below the thatch, for holding of the hay rakes. There was scarcely any sense left in me, only that the thing was come by power of Mother Meldrum, because I despised her warning, and had again sought Lorna. But the officer was grieved for me, and the danger to his supper. 'My son, be not afraid,' he said. 'We are not going to skin thee. only thou tell all the truth, and it shall be. But never mind, I will tell thee all about it, and how to come out harmless, if I find thy victuals good, and no delay in serving them.' 'We do our best, sir, without bargain,' said I, 'to please our visitors.' But when my mother saw the parchment, for we could not keep it from her, she fell away into her favourite bed of stock gillyflowers, which she had been tending, and when we brought her round again, did nothing but exclaim against the wickedness of the age and people. It was useless to tell her. She knew what it was, and so should all the parish know. The king had heard that her son was how sober and quiet and diligent, and the strongest young man in England, and being himself such a reprobate, God forgive her for saying so, but he could never rest till he got poor Johnny, and made him as dissolute as himself. And if he did that,' here mother went off into a fit of crying, and Annie minded her face, while Lizzie saw that her gown was in comely order. But the character of the king improved, when Master Jeremy Stickles, being really moved by the look of it, and no bad man after all, laid it clearly before my mother, that the king on his throne was unhappy until he had seen John Ridd; that the fame of John had gone so far, and his size, and all his virtues, that verily by the God who made him, the king was overcome with it. Then mother lay back in her garden chair, and smiled upon the whole of us, and most of all on Jeremy, looking only shyly on me, and speaking through some break of tears: 'His Majesty shall have my John. His Majesty is very good. But only for a fortnight. I want no titles for him. Johnny is enough for me, and Master John for the working men.' Now, though my mother was so willing that I should go to London, expecting great promotion and high glory for me, I myself was deeply gone into the pit of sorrow. For what would Lorna think of me? Here was the long month just expired, after worlds of waiting. There would be her lovely self, peeping softly down the glen, and fearing to encourage me. Yet there would be nobody else, and what an insult to her! Dwelling upon this, and seeing no chance of escape from it, I could not find one wink of sleep, though Jeremy Stickles, who slept close by, snored loud enough to spare me some. For I felt myself to be, as it were, in a place of some importance, in a situation of trust, I may say, and bound not to depart from it. For who could tell what the king might have to say to me about the Doones? And I felt that they were at the bottom of this strange appearance; or what his Majesty might think, if after receiving a message from him, trusty under so many seals, I were to violate his faith in me as churchwarden's son, and falsely spread his words abroad. Perhaps I was not wise in building such a wall of scruples. Nevertheless, all that was there, and weighed upon me heavily. And at last I made up my mind to this, that even Lorna must not know the reason of my going, neither anything about it; but that she might know I was gone a long way from home, and perhaps be sorry for it. Now, how was I to let her know even that much of the matter, without breaking compact? Puzzling on this, I fell asleep, after the proper time to get up, nor was I to be seen at breakfast time. And mother, being quite strange to that, was very uneasy about it. But Master Stickles assured her that the king's writ often had that effect, and the symptom was a good one. 'Now, Master Stickles, when must we start?' I asked him, as he lounged in the yard, gazing at our turkey poults, picking and running in the sun to the tune of their father's gobble. 'Your horse was greatly foundered, sir, and is hardly fit for the road to day; and Smiler was sledding yesterday all up the higher cleve, and none of the rest can carry me.' 'In a few more years,' replied the king's officer, contemplating me with much satisfaction, ''twill be a cruelty to any horse to put thee on his back, John.' Master Stickles by this time was quite familiar with us, calling me Jack, and Eliza Lizzie, and what I liked the least of all, our pretty Annie, Nancy. 'That will be as God pleases, sir,' I answered him rather sharply; 'and the horse that suffers will not be thine. But I wish to know when we must start upon our long travel to London town. I perceive that the matter is of great dispatch and urgency.' 'To be sure so it is, my son. But I see a yearling turkey there, him I mean with the hop in his walk. who, if I know aught of fowls, would roast